Eliot's already on the scene 12 hours before the game. Good morning, Eliot.
What up? How you guys doing?
I mean, great.
Super.
We got the Birds. They're back.
Yeah.
It's awesome. Eliot, before we get to Jaylen Phillips and all that, is Nolan Smith going to play tonight?
Yeah, Nolan Smith should play. He said this week when we spoke to him for the first time since the injury that he will play, even just little indications at practice. He's first up among the edges in the individual work. So I believe they have to make a roster move prior to the game in order to clear space. But yeah, he should play tonight.
Who's down if he's up?
Well, they're going to have to cut somebody. It's not just about like the inactive. So I mean, a name I would look at is A.J. Dillon. I know he traveled to Green Bay, so maybe it's not going to be him. But I don't really see what his purpose on the roster is right now. With Tank Bigsby, Will Shipley, obviously ahead of him. Byron Young, maybe a potential option there. But, yeah, I mean, for a roster that's not as super deep as it's been in years past, there really aren't a ton of obvious cuts, I would say. But someone's going to have to go.
Boy, Eliot, I hadn't even thought of that. So you think, because theoretically maybe when they left they didn't know if a certain player could play or whatever, do you think they're going to cut a guy on the road? That's rough.
No.
Well, it's also possible they cut him and he signed right away to the practice squad. Like, I don't think he was going to play tonight, so...
Wow.
But yes, it is interesting.
That's what's
he was
likely.
on the team playing, so yes.
That's tough, man.
Jair, they're going to cut Jair since he didn't travel with them.
Let's talk about that one, Eliot. So, I mean, a bad start for the Gier Alexander Philadelphia Eagles experience. He didn't even travel. What do you make of it?
It's weird, for sure. I mean, Jaylen Phillips traveled, Michael Carter traveled, so two of the three guys that they acquired at least traveled, right, and are going to play. Like Jaylen Phillips is going to play quite a bit. I'm sure we'll talk about him in a minute. But it's odd. I mean, my understanding of the reasoning is they want him to learn the defense more. They want for him to continue to, rest up from the knee injury. But earlier the week, he said he was fine when I asked him. And I asked him twice, like, how are you feeling? Fine. Did you not play Baltimore because of injury? No. So, like, the injury thing doesn't seem to be an issue to him. And the learning the defense thing doesn't seem to be an issue for the other two players they acquired. So it is odd, like for him to not at least come on the trip as he's getting to learn his new teammates is also weird to me. So definitely an odd decision.
I wonder if what we heard from Jeffrey Lurie is their decisions. They make them whatever's best for the team. I wonder if it became the possibility of a distraction because that was a former team that he'd played for or something along those lines.
Yeah, but you'd want him on the sideline and just learning his teammates and just learning. You would think
he would be able to give all sorts of information about a lot of those guys that were his former teammates.
Yeah,
and maybe that's part of why he's here, and he can do that. He can contribute that without playing this week.
Eliot, to me, there's only one good reason to keep him here. If there's if he's not going to play, and there's equipment in the NovaCare complex for him to work out at and with, and doctors that he can't do in Green Bay, that's reasonable. But for any other reason, it just seems not good.
Yeah, agreed. And I do think he's staying back probably for rehab purposes, but it's just a reminder that the Gier Alexander trade is a complete shot in the dark. Like, to have any expectations for this guy, I think is being unrealistic. Like, could he end up being a good player? Of course he could be. He's been at one point. But the first games they acquired him, he's not even on the plane, right? So, like, think of how far he probably has to go to be a high-level cornerback, let alone playing. So, of course, they're going to hope it'll happen. But it's just a reminder, like, they traded almost nothing to get him, and as of now, they're getting nothing in return.
So Jaylen Phillips, Eliot, is he the best player Howie's acquired during the season?
I think in terms of at the time of the acquisition, I'd probably have to say yes. Jay Ajayi obviously was pretty good when they got him, and and then he ended up being helpful. Golden Tate was a good player, but Jaylen Phillips, arguably has been a top 15 edge rusher in the NFL this year, and I just think that's a higher level of player than a really good running back or a really good receiver.
How much?
Sorry,
keep.
Well, no, I was gonna say obviously he has to stay healthy, but if you look at the advanced stats, like he's getting to the quarterback more than most players in the league, and he's winning his pass rushes at a higher rate more than most players in the league. So he's been a really good player. So I'd probably say yes to that.
That's so exciting to see him on one side, Nolan Smith on the other side. How much do you expect them to play comparatively? Is there no limitations for both?
Yeah, I don't expect any limitations for either player. I mean, maybe Nolan Smith doesn't get his full amount of reps because it is his first game back, so I guess that would be a bit of a limitation. But just, again, talking to both, like, They both seem ready to go. And the interesting part of them playing on the field at the same time tonight is they have both in their entire careers played pretty much exclusively on the left side of the field. So when they're both out there, like one of them's going to have to go to the right side. So that'll be interesting to see how how each of them does on that side. I asked both of them this week about the challenges of switching sides, and they both downplayed it. So maybe it won't be a big issue, but it is a little weird to have your two best players for multiple years in their career play pretty much the same exact position, and now one of them or both is going to have to adjust at times during the game.
So on the other side of the ball, what's going on at center? Cam Jurgens, it feels like this thing is stretching on a little longer than I was expecting, the injury.
Yeah, so he obviously won't play tonight. It'll be Brett Toth at center. Now, I think 3 weeks ago, if you would have said that would have been a major red flag. He is coming off of, I thought, a pretty good game at center, and I think he's played overall pretty well at center. At guard, he was struggling, but at center, he's been better. And the Packers don't really have good interior pass rushing defensive tackles. They do move Micah inside, which would obviously be a concern at times, but their defensive tackles aren't that good. So tonight, I don't think it's a major problem. Now, to your question about like where he's at, I think the encouraging thing would be if they felt this was a long-term injury, he would have been on IR prior to the last game, because to put him on IR like after this would be, roster malpractice. Like, I know you get new information and maybe things change, but you would have just wasted 2 games of him being on the active roster for no reason. So my guess is they anticipate him back prior to what would have been the 4 games. So now obviously we look towards the Lions game, and then after that it's the Cowboys. So I would think he would play in one of those 2 games based off the fact he hasn't been put on IR.
Great, we need him. So we've seen that this defense that we're facing, the Packers defense, has been inconsistent at best at stopping the run. Their last game where they lost to the Panthers, Rico Dowdle had 130 yards on him and a couple touchdowns. But then the stats also look pretty good. Their ability to stop the run. Which is it? Are they? Is that a weakness that we can exploit this week, or are we going to more likely attack them through the air, Eliot?
Yeah, so I'm not as impressed by the Packers defense as everyone else. I do know statistically, like, they are up there in some areas, especially pass defense, but they've played bad quarterbacks. Like, they've played Joe Flacco twice. They've played Jacoby Brissett, and I know Brissett's been playing better, but you look at the quarterbacks the Eagles defense have faced this year compared to the Packers defense, and it's night and day. So I think the Packers are a little bit a product of the opponents that they face. Now, in terms of how they'll try to attack them tonight, like, it is really cold here, and I'm not saying that's like the end-all, be-all, but it does feel like a running game. I feel like it's a game where you're going to want to be physical early on and establish a line of scrimmage, and I just think throwing it with this wind and in this wind in the cold is going to be difficult. So I think the Packers don't have a great secondary. I think their front line is very good at the edges, but not up the middle. So the good thing about the Eagles is, they in theory have the talent to do either one, to run or pass. So I don't think they'll come into this game trying to do one or the other. I think they'll just react to whatever the Packers defense gives them.
And the Packers run game, we know that Jordan Love is an up-and-coming young quarterback, but their run game is pretty formidable also, isn't it, Eliot? Josh Jacobs, he's one of the better backs in the league.
Well, it's interesting about their running game, because I agree with you. I think Josh Jacobs is very good, but statistically they have a bad running game. I think they're into the bottom half of the league in yards per carry. And it's interesting, like, I agree Jordan Love has upside, but I feel like the way you described him, it's just like this whole Packers team to me. Like, Jordan Love, up and coming, he's been the starting quarterback for, what is this, his 4th year at this point? Like, he's been in the playoffs. So at a certain point, with him and with the Packers in general, when do they actually have to play like an elite team for us to stop viewing them as one? Like, all last year, they were viewed as an elite team. They didn't even win a playoff game. This year, they're 5-2-1, which is not an impressive record, and we still talk about them as Super Bowl contenders. Like, they are a good team, and I think it's a good test tonight. But they are not the elite team, or have not played to the elite level that we have all kind of bestowed them the past year and a half.
Eliot with us from Green Bay. Strong words on the Pack. We'll see, Eliot. If they win, then they can they can become that and they can prove that they're that. But I would agree with you to this point. They haven't been that.
A year and a half to be. Yeah,
no, I get it. I get. Well, okay. Let's talk about elite and not, because last year I think and I think most Eagles fans would agree, the Eagles' two best players last year were Saquon Barkley and Jalen Carter. Now, some might say Zach Ball, some might say Jalen Hurts, but for my money, Saquon Barkley and Jalen Carter. Neither has played this year, in my opinion, really close to the same level. Second half of the season, who would you put your money on more likely to return to that supreme level? Saquon Barkley or Jalen Carter?
I would say Jalen Carter. I think Carter has played better as the season has gone on. I don't think he's been an elite player. So I completely agree with your assessment there. I think Moro Jomo has been a better player in some ways than Jalen Carter has this year. But the second half of the year, I do think with the help along the edges, because I do anticipate Jalen Phillips helping this defensive line. I think Nolan Smith coming back will help, even if he's maybe not the player we all hoped he would be this year. I think he'll help, and that'll make Jalen Carter's life easier. I think on the other side of the ball with Saquon, I don't know. I mean, I know he had that big game last week, but all year he has looked like a guy that has lost a step. And I don't think as the season goes on, he's going to regain that step. And I also think Tank Bigsby is going to be part of the running game. I don't think it's like they're going to bench Saquon or anything, but they do have a fresh, young running back that has not a lot of touches on his body that we saw in the last game can really add something to this offense. So I just think statistically, Saquon probably won't put up the numbers, and I think Jalen Carter is better suited to have a better half of the year.
I'm struck with what you said there, Eliot, about Saquon, because, some people think you're right, some think you're wrong.
I think you're wrong.
Obviously, the line hasn't been as good. We know that. But what specifically, I'm guessing it's just the eye test, tells you Saquon does not look the same?
Yeah, no, he had an awesome last game, for sure. But, I mean, we have seen a lot of athletes in a lot of sports where they could have awesome games, right? It's not about doing it once. It's about doing it every week. And the beginning half of the year, for sure the offensive line was part of it. And for sure the defense looks they were getting were part of it. But we all just saw, how many special runs did he have? And, we all tried to fight against it, and we can all use our eye test. The stats are the stats. He has statistically been one of the worst running backs in the league this year. Now, I don't think he is one of the worst running backs in the league, but the stats indicate that he has been. So, yeah, I think he's still a great player, but it's pretty clear he's not the player he was last year.
Wow. Is snow off the table?
We'll see in the second half.
We'll say. Eliot, is snow off the table? I know over the weekend they were saying snow, and now they're saying only cold. Is there a snow possibility or not?
It doesn't look like it's going to snow. Now, it's going to be in the low 20s temperature feel, the real feel. But, yeah, no, it does not anticipate there'll be snow.
All right, Eliot, one more thing. I want to play some audio of Coach Ramil when he was on the program Friday. He it's some strong words about the Eagles' offense. I don't know if it's as strong as what you just said about Saquon, but strong with his concern. We were asking him about concerns. He went to the offense. I want to get your assessment, Eliot, of something Ramil said to us the other day.
I'm more concerned about the offense, really. That's how I look at it, maybe because that's my career with more emphasis on that side in my own mind. But we're not.
And what are you most concerned about?
Conversion.
Oh,
third down conversion. Yeah, we're in the last 4 games we're last in football. And sooner or later that catches up with you. And
well, that's one of those. That's one of those stats that every coach I ever played for emphasized. Third down matters, and you're saying we're last in football. That doesn't compute if we're supposed to be the best team in football.
Yeah, well, the last 4 games were last in third down conversion. And the other thing, we're not getting into the red zone often enough. And we kick fewer field goals than anybody. We score when we get down there. We lead the league in scoring when we get down there. But we just don't get down there often enough.
And that was Ramil with us on Friday. Eliot, I'm curious. I'm super pumped for tonight. We get him back for the first time in 15 days. And we focused a lot, obviously, in recent days on all the trades or signings or whatever the heck they all were. But has their offensive inefficiency kind of flown a little under the radar?
Yeah, well, so I was listening when he said that on air, and I was so shocked I thought he had to be wrong. But obviously, last time I'll question Dick Vermeil. It is a crazy stat because they are in theory or should be one of the better third down offenses in the NFL, between the tush push, between obviously the weapons they have on offense. And Jaylen is an excellent third down quarterback. So I was stunned that stat's correct. But yeah, I think getting A.J. Brown back should help. I mean, he is one of the best receivers in the NFL. I think when him and Jaylen are clicking, they are one of the most unstoppable quarterback wide receiver duos in the NFL. And the Packers secondary is really not that good. They don't really have like an elite level corner. So it's matchups he should win tonight. But yeah, I mean, the third down thing is huge. And it's not just in the games they lost. Like even the 2 games they won, they had a really low third down percentage. So it's definitely something they need to improve.